Okay, we're missing Grace. Has anybody talked to Grace at all? Do you know why she's not here?
No. I'll invite
Bernadette?
her. People talk about Mrs. Wetzel.
What, Irfan?
Well,
Irfan, I see
we just
put fix your computer so I could see your face. What, Irfan?
Well, we just had break, so I think she probably is not checking the time or something.
Okay, I'm sure she'll be back in then. All right. Can you see the captions? You can turn your captions on. I have captions on now. All right. All right. So today what we're going to do is go over your review questions. So we'll start with that. And I want to give you a homework credit for that because I got to keep on track with homework credits. Here it is. Okay. So this would be cool. Hey, today's April Fool's Day. Nobody has an April Fool's joke? Irfan, I still can't see your face. Lily broke her leg. Yeah, they tried that in 4th grade already. Grant, I need you to put your camera on, please.
No, it is. Ow. How with my brother?
Hey guys, I hear banging on my door. I am in my hall right now, and I hear banging on my glass door.
No, okay. that was just clicking of the computer. Okay.
No, it's hand knocking. I'm not kidding.
Are you home alone?
No, I'm with my mother here.
Then go get her and tell her. I mean, come on, man.
Okay, so homework, page 167, review questions. Irfan, do you have them done? Bernadette?
Yes, I have them done.
Okay, Bernadette?
Yep, I have them done.
Jack?
Yeah.
Grace, is she in yet? Not yet. Grant?
Done.
Okay, I got you, Olympia. Thank you. That was an easy way to do it. That was good thinking. Lily?
Yep,
and Alex. Is your homework done, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Well, let's go to page 167. Okay. And you were to do
176.
Yes, you were to do the questions on 176. Okay, the first question, number 1. No, not number 1. We weren't supposed to do number 1. We were supposed to do number 2. Write a summary of Gregory Mendel's research and work on inherited traits. Who wants to tackle Gregory? Who wants to tackle this one? Olympia? Go ahead.
I will.
Go ahead.
Okay. Gregory Mendel was a curious man. He wanted to know how traits were inherited. So he decided to experiment with plants. He bred tall pea plants with short plants. In the first generation, all of them were tall.
Hold it. Olympia, you're reading way too fast because there's the delay. So can you start over and read really slowly?
Gregory Mendel was a curious man. He wanted to know how traits were inherited. So he decided to experiment with pea plants. He bred tall pea plants with short pea plants. In the first generation, all of them were tall. But in the second, 3/4 were tall and 1/4 were short. This led him to hypothesize that traits can skip generations. He kept on doing the experiment, but his results never changed. This information led him to believe that some traits are strong and some are weak, or dominant and recessive. It takes 2 recessive factors to make that trait appear, but only 1 or more dominant factors for a dominant trait to appear. In pea plants, shortness is a recessive trait, and tallness is a dominant trait. These are some of the great things Mendel taught us through his research.
All right. I hope that you got all that, or if you want her to add anything, repeat anything. Pia, that was top notch. That was a really good summary. You could be writing the textbook here. So good job on that. Does anybody else want to share theirs or on Gregory Mendel? Okay.
I'm sorry, my computer didn't start up.
Okay.
It said
We
that
figured
I
you'd be
couldn't
here.
hear
You have your homework done, correct? Okay. Pia just went over the second, number 2. She had a really good paragraph. So if you want to get with her later and hear what she had to say, guys can do that. Okay. We're going to check number 3 now. Draw conclusions. A dark brown mouse is bred with a light brown mouse. Out of the 4 offspring, how many are likely to be dark brown? Do you want to do that, Grace? Go ahead.
Sure. Where is that? 3/4 of the offspring will be dark brown, while 1/4 of it will be light brown because of the what's it called? How it skips a generation sometimes? Or is that not
Sure.
included?
It would be. Is that it?
Mrs. Wetzel, I have something different. Can I say mine?
Wait, I also have a question on this question. I have a question on the question.
You have a question on the question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So if it's, we don't know which one is the dominant and which one is the recessive, or if both of them are dominant. Because if it's a light brown mouse, can it also be like a dominant trait that is light brown, or it could be a recessive trait that's light brown?
I think on page 160, when they talked about it, they said that the dark brown fur was the dominant factor, and the light brown fur is the recessive factor.
Okay, so
Mrs.
then, yeah,
Wetzel?
I said
told us
what
that.
Gracie said.
Yes, Pia.
Mrs. Wetzel, I got something different. Can I share mine?
Sure.
What I got is,
Go
said
ahead.
if a dark brown mouse breeds with a light brown mouse, and they have 4 offspring, there are multiple possibilities of how many dark brown mice there would be. I said it depends on whether the dark brown mouse has 2 alleles for dark brown, or 1 for light brown and 1 for light. It depends on whether the dark brown mouse has 2 alleles for dark brown, or 1 for light brown and 1 for dark brown. There could be either 2 or 4 dark brown mice.
Okay. Well, no. 2 dark brown offsprings have 1 dominant factor and 1 recessive factor. So in the end, you should have what Grace said. You should have 1 mouse that has both dominant factors of dark brown, 1 that has 1 of each, actually 2 that has 2 of each, and 1 that has 2 recessive factors of light brown. So she is correct in saying you would have 3/4 dark brown and 1/4 light brown. in the second generation.
Also, I saw on the test that there is a question like that. So like if I answered what like Pia said, or like it could be different outcomes. Are you still going off of what you said in the book, which was it would probably be 3/4 because the dark brown mouse has the dominant trait.
And since
Mrs.
these
Wetzel,
questions
what
that
I
you're
saw,
doing, these questions that you're doing on the test, this quiz is just the cause and effect questions that are in the book. So you may use your book to answer the questions.
Mrs. Wetzel,
Yes, Pia.
the question says, if a dark brown mouse is bred with a light brown mouse, and a light brown mouse must have at least 2 light brown factors for traits for light brown.
Yes.
It didn't ask the same question on it. It didn't say the same thing it said on page 160, because on 160 they were both dark brown mice, but they had a dominant and recessive trait, which would make sense to do 3/4 dark brown.
Right.
But on this question, it says that there's a light brown mouse with a dark brown mouse. So, well, we don't really know what the dark brown would be, but the light brown would be 2 of that. That's why I said it could be either 2 or 4 dark brown.
Yes, but the light brown mouse could have a dominant. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't have come out light brown. So that would be your first generation, which would give you all dark brown. The first generation would, if you had a dark, just like you had the short and the tall pea plant, the first generation came all back tall. The first generation of the dark and light mouse would be all dark. Third generation would give you like 3/4, 1/4.
Guys, I think what the answer is that since there's
I looked at how they.
Guys, out of 4 mice, right? So if the first generation is 2 of the mice, right? So then the first generation would be the dark brown mouse, right? Yeah, the first generation
They'd all
would
be
2,
dark
right?
brown,
So they'll all be dark brown. The second generation is the other 2.
Right.
So I'm guessing one would be dark brown, the other one would be light brown.
Well, the second generation, you would have 3/4 dark and 1/4 light. It depends on what generation you're looking
Also,
at for
what
that
about
question.
mix?
The
Like
first-
mixed colors?
Yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes people that have brown eyes, if you have brown eyes and blue eye genes, sometimes their eyes look kind of brownish, have some brownish to it. They're not quite exactly blue, but they also have some brown. So that's a good question. That's something to research. I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
Mrs.
Why do they
Wetzel?
sometimes have a different shade? Yes, Pia.
The reason I got, like, you know how like you could get 4, you're probably gonna get 4 dark brown mice, but like since we don't really know what the dark brown mouse, like what if it had like 1 dark brown trait or 1 light brown trait or 2 dark brown traits, it could also be only 2 dark brown mice.
But
No, because if you have a dark and a light, that the first generation was all dominant gene. In the pea plant, it was all dominant. They were all tall. Because you have that dominant gene that is going to go above the recessive gene.
But couldn't, like, wait, so if you make one of the charts, now I'm not sure if like the charts work all the time, but you know how you had that box chart on page 160?
Yes.
If you make one of those charts with 2 recessive and 1 dominant and 1 recessive, then you get 2 light brown mice and 2 dark brown mice.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's like 3 light brown.
Yeah.
But it depends on what the dark brown mouse has.
That's true. Each factor from one parent with each factor from the other parent. The light brown offspring has 2 recessive factors. And that's true. You can get the 2 recessive factors from those 2 dark brown mice. That's a possibility. One dark brown offspring has 2 dominant factors. 2 dark brown offspring have 1 dominant factor and 1 recessive factor. So really the box on page 160 is what Grace was going by, and that would be correct for that answer. I think she's right on that. Okay, let's do number 4. Write clues for the vocabulary term. Did you have to do this one? 2, 3. No, we didn't have to do 4. We had to do 5. How can 2 brown-eyed parents have a blue-eyed child? Oh, Irfan, there's your question. Alex, what do you have for an answer to that?
Which number?
Number 5. Read the question and tell us what you have for an answer. Alex, will you please put your picture on? Put your camera on.
Can you talk?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. My computer is just a laptop or Chromebook, whatever. Like I couldn't hear any of you guys.
You're
Okay,
logged
wait.
on with both of them. That's why it's echoing.
Okay. So what?
Number 5. Read it and tell us your answer.
Okay. I said for number 5, they can have inherited blue eyes from an older ancestors, but never got the blue eyes, and then they could have passed that gene to their offspring.
Okay. Okay, so they had the blue-eyed gene in them from their ancestors. Okay. Bernadette, can you do number 6? Bernadette, can you mute your mic and do number 6?
So I said chromosome is so I just said chromosome is the answer for that one.
Okay, so you said what are Mendel's factors, and you said they're chromosomes?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, what
I
page
didn't
are we
get
on?
chromosomes.
Yeah, if we go back and look, what did you have, Grace?
Forms of genes.
Yeah, if you go back and look at Mendel,
I got traits. Well, it says on page 166, today Mendel's factors are known to be different forms of genes. It says it the first sentence.
okay.
I have a question. So, if we think about it, chromosomes are a bunch of chromosomes is DNA, and then forms of genes are turned into traits. So technically, it would be chromosomes. It would be all of these.
Well, because in the chromosomes are pieces of DNA, and we get our traits from the DNA. But yes, Grace is correct. It would be forms of genes is what they're known as. Because the question is, what are the factors? They are forms of genes. A gene is a part of the chromosome, and it has the DNA. So yeah, that is kind of a tough question, Irfan, because they all kind of go hand in hand there. Okay. Grant, I would like to hear your answer for number 2.
What?
I would like to hear your answer for number 2.
This is probably most likely wrong. I don't care.
Well, excuse me a minute.
Gregor Mendel was the
We went over this question. You shouldn't have a wrong answer. If you had it wrong, you should be correcting your answers as you go. You don't want to leave wrong answers, do you?
no.
Go ahead, read what you have.
Gregor Mendel was the first to discover, research, and to make what inherited traits what. Well, never mind. First to discover, research, and to. It sounded so much more right when I read it in my head.
Grant, don't do that.
I can't
go.
read it. I can't
Grant,
I pretty much can't read it.
Just take your time and read it slowly,
To make-
Grant.
I know, but the way I wrote it sounded so right in my head the first way I wrote it. But now when I'm reading it out loud, it's like, no, I can't read it. It's tongue twisting. To make
Well-
what inherited traits, the meaning of what inherited traits is, I missed that. Understandable. Also, he told us that everyone has one half of your traits from your mother and the other half from your father.
Okay.
All I have.
Did you add anything when Pia was saying hers? Grant, did you add anything when Pia was saying hers? Because she had a lot of good information there. Okay. Alex, could you read your number 2? I want to hear what you had to say there.
Sure. Number 2. Gregor Mendel studied genes and how we can inherit traits from our parents and ancestors. He discovered how gene can skip a generation and can be exact as in twins. He told how one puppy can look different from their pack, but still inherits many traits of their parents. Many of their parents' traits.
Okay. And you didn't mention anything about his pea plant
Nope,
experiments.
Sorry, I wasn't done yet. I
Okay.
didn't. Here, where did I stop? Here. He also experimented of pea plants to see that the first generation was tall, but then the next was short. That's okay.
No, you need to fix that last part. The first generation all were tall, but in the next generation there was 1 short, 3 tall. So don't make it sound like they were all short then, because eventually the short will be bred out of the pea plants because the dominant gene will take over. Yes, Grace.
Miss Wetzel, did you say for the quiz on the computer that we could use our books?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You can use your books and notes because you've already really answered these. I'm just going to give you a grade for them. I really liked how well you did the answers and the cause and effect. And I thought this is a way that you have to really think about what you're doing. So if you would like, could you go to your Google Classroom right now to Science, go to Classworks, and let's open that up and see if there's any problems. This is the first quiz I made this way. It's made with Google Form. So if you can go ahead on there and see what you have. Remember, you can use your notes. You should have the answers to these already. If you did a good job with your answers, you can put them right in on the test. If you need to add more to them, you can do that. You have time to do that. And I'll say this test will be due on Friday. So get it done by Friday. Okay, so I'll give you till Friday to get it done. So if you go to the Google quiz, inherited traits, see if it opens up and if it's working okay. And let me know.
So for
It's
one of
working
the questions,
fine.
it says. So for one of the questions, it says, how did the Arctic fox get white fur in the winter? Do you want us to say stuff about how it adapted because of that, or how because it was
Yeah, I would include a little bit of that because each one of these cause and effect should be a decent paragraph long. And most of them you already have in your notes. We've been doing this all along. Yeah, I would mention that, Irfan. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording because I don't think we need to record anymore.